This is Gerardo Del Real with Resource Stock Digest, live from the 2022 Beaver Creek Precious Metals Summit. Joining me today is the CEO of what I think is going to be the top performing stock in 2023. That's Hannan Metals. And this is Mr. Michael Hudson. Mike, it's great to see you in person. How are you?
Gerardo, who would have thunk? We're back together.
It's great to be back out here in person. First and foremost, how is the sentiment out here for you?
Well, I think there's a huge amount of enthusiasm in whatever we do in life when we get together as people face to face. So without a doubt, it's the biggest conference here that I've been to. I've been to pretty much every one of these. I think I missed one over the last 10 years. I think it's been going now, but correct me if I'm wrong. And biggest crowd, a lot of enthusiasm. Yeah. Markets can do a bit better, but despite the markets, there's a lot of enthusiasm.
So no pressure. I keep telling everybody that I think Hannan Metals in 2023 will do what Patriot Battery Metals has done in 2022. And mind you, I think Patriot, which we were both early investors in, has a lot of runway still left. But it's, I say no pressure, but there's a little pressure there, right? You want to tell the people why I'm as enthusiastic about Hannan in 2023?
Well, to be successful in this business, you need to do a couple of things. You've got to have a very good shareholder or a capital structure and a tight one, so it will allow you to succeed. And that's what Patriot did so well, and that's what Hannan still is. It's got a very steady group of shareholders. We haven't raised a lot of capital. You know, it's been 3 years literally since we've raised a lot of capital. We put $1 million in between them, but so it's got a good solid shareholder base, known shareholder base. So that's number one. Then look for elephants. Look for elephants. We can muck around looking for smaller deposits, and of course, everyone wants to find a big one. But the recipe to find a big one is to go where they are. Number one. Quebec and lithium has obviously turned out to be that, and has been that, and porphyry coppers in Peru where we are, and a new style of mineralization in Peru, sediment-hosted copper, which forms world-class deposits. And we found copper mineralization over 100 kilometers in that style, the sediment-hosted copper.
Over 100 kilometers.
We have, yep. So it clearly, if it works, it's going to be big. So that's one style, sediment-hosted copper, and then we've got the porphyry copper gold targets that we're just really starting to work up, and which gives me a lot of joy actually. Geology and exploration turns my crank, and both styles are highly impressive, and the porphyries are becoming more and more impressive as we're learning more.
You mentioned elephants and elephant country, and scale is clearly critical if you're going to make the kind of discovery that is, a career maker or a company maker, or maybe in the case of Hannan, many company makers, right? Can we talk about the land holdings and how you became a top 10 land tenured holder in Peru?
Taking a big swing. So we identified the opportunity early. We're in the other side of the Andes, so it hasn't been looked at a lot over the years, and that's really and I was there 25 years ago, and I had military escorts, and there was a big drug growing area in the world there. It's cleaned up now. That's changed. A lot more infrastructure's gone in. A lot of people have moved in there, so it's more accessible. It's safer, and so we're really first movers to a great extent in that area over the other side of the Andes, and geologists call it either the foreland basins, which hold the the sediment-hosted copper, right. And then if you're talking about the tectonic setting, it's the back arc, and that's where the porphyries are forming, and the porphyries are not necessarily meant to be out there. A bit like Bajo de la Lumbrera, that was found where it wasn't thought to be, one of the greatest porphyries in South America, and it's something to do with these big cross arc structures, and that's what we're working through now, we took a big swing. If you're going to find something big, you want to have a big ground position, and so here's little minnow Hannan up with BHP and Rio and all the majors as a top 10 ground holder.
And how many square kilometers are you up to now? It was 2,400 or 2,800?
Yeah, it's a little less, but we're still top 10. It's a 2,100 square kilometers, so it's a big patch of dirt, and we've worked out how to explore it pretty efficiently too, getting around, and so we've been able to stream sediment, sample the whole basin, and the porphyry targets are over 120 kilometres, and we've got 7 porphyries so far, and our first mover into the area, did the stream sediments, had the large magnetic surveys from the petroleum companies that had just become freely available. So that gave us an ability to stake broadly and widely there, and then up a little further north in joint venture with the Japanese government, who are fully funding, I should say, the sediment-hosted work. That was easily identifiable because you just walked up the creek and found the copper green boulders as you walked up creeks, and that's how we staked that area first up.
That joint venture with JOGMEC, I believe, is $35 million US, and that's just for a little over a third of your current land holdings. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
Where's your market cap today?
25.
So let me get this straight. You have a joint venture worth $35 million US dollars. You have a $25 million Canadian market cap, and you still have 2/3 of your land holdings, close to 2/3. That's 100% controlled by Hannan.
Exactly, and a brand new Miocene, which is very important. The age of the porphyries is Miocene, which equates to the biggest porphyries we see up in the Andes themselves, over 120 kilometres. 7 of them sticking out of the ground. We're just going through and running a big magnetic survey now, $500,000 survey to really narrow down that area and pinpoint those porphyries. It's very exciting.
We mentioned the joint venture with JOGMEC. I know that your phone has been ringing because of the amazing exploration work that you've done thus far, and because I think companies want to get positioned for what should be a phenomenal run in 2023. It's one thing if I say it. It's very different when JOGMEC comes in and puts a stamp and says, we want to be a part of that. The phone's been ringing from the majors wanting to come in and shake hands with Mr. Hudson.
I spent 10 years in a major, and if a major isn't looking at what's going on around in the junior space, they're not doing their job. And we're looking for major scale targets. And as a consequence, of course, there's a lot of interest in what we're doing because it's a bit different, and we're finding a lot of copper and that hasn't been found before. So they're doing their job, yes.
Just to be clear, the commodity mix here is copper, it's gold, and there's some silver there too.
Copper, gold in the porphyries, copper, silver. We get about 2% copper and an ounce silver on average over that 100 kilometres where we've channeled.
On average.
On average.
100 kilometres.
Well, within 100 kilometres, yeah. So it's but where we've sampled, that's the average grades. Phenomenal
stuff. Excited for 2023. What comes next? When do we get to see the drill bit turn and see what Mother Nature gifted you?
Yeah, well, this is the challenge. The one big challenge is Peru and the timing to drilling. And I always point to this area here. The sediment-hosted system had permits placed 6 months ago, and we're waiting for those permits now to be approved, probably early next year. Okay, so that's the guidance we can give you there. It's going to be that same process in the porphyries. It's 1 to 2 years to permit the drilling, but you'll see us work these porphyries up. We've developed one in great detail where we sampled it, we've mapped it, and you'll see that happen to 2 other porphyries this year. So we'll just get a whole portfolio of these porphyries. It's like a ring of pearls, literally, that we're working up.
Some phenomenal exploration work. Anything to add to that, Mike?
Watch this space.
All right. Michael Hudson, everybody.